Hello, my name is Dylan, but you can call me Buttercup. Welcome to Buttercup Yarn Art, a soft-spoken video journal where I play with yarn and share my thoughts. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you'd like to see more, please subscribe. If there's anything you'd like to hear me talk about, please leave a comment to let me know. I am still working on my GT Cardi by Knititude. And that's what I'm working on camera right now. And I'm just going to get right into the first thing that I want to talk about today, because you can probably tell what it is just from the camera angle. And if you can't, don't worry, I'll tell you. My new tripod came in, and I am very excited about it. It took me a lot of fussing around, and, trying different configurations this morning to figure out a setup that works. But I have always wanted to be able to do, this kind of angle with the camera where, you are looking at my hands as I do, pretty much, when I'm knitting. I really like this angle. I really like videos of people knitting from this angle, where you can see their hands as they are looking at their hands. And I was not able to do that before. But now that I have this cool new tripod with the horizontal column, I can do this cool camera angle. I know it's very fancy, very high-tech, and so many other people have figured out other ways to do this that are much more low-tech and don't involve big fancy tripods and destroying everything in their bedroom trying to find a way to place the tripod that works. But I tend to take the more complicated route. And that's fine. It works. Now that I have figured out, how to make this work, I am very happy with this new tripod. I talked last week about how I have learned mirror knitting, and so I'm never turning my work again. And I considered, knitting a full right side row just so I could show you my mirror knitting. I'm pulling some yarn off the yarn ball because it's kind of at a weird angle and it's not coming off as smoothly as I would like. Anyway, I considered doing that, but for the time being, I am still not quite comfortable with mirror knitting yet. The movements still aren't quite natural. So I will, at some point, demonstrate my new skill. But for the time being, as I get comfortable with it, for videos, I'm just gonna do normal right side rows so that I look competent in the public facing portion of my knitting. But yeah, I am very happy with my new tripod. I am excited for all of the things that it can do for me. Not just this. My old tripod is quite short. And so if I want to take a full body picture of myself standing up, it needs to be kind of up high on a surface to get the camera eye level with me. But this one expands to a pretty tall height, and I can use this just on the floor. It doesn't need to be up on any kind of makeshift pedestal to get the camera eye level with me. So I think that's very exciting. You get to see other angles of my messy room when I finish things. Actually, if you've seen my Instagram, if you follow me there, my pictures that I took when I finished all of the lights cardigan, I actually went to a nature reserve and had someone taking pictures for me there. And I kind of want to continue doing that for finished object photos. Not necessarily that same reserve, but going to pretty places to take pictures of the things that I've made. Just to have a more interesting background than my bedroom for those pictures. I think that it'll be a bit higher quality than just, my background is my bedroom. But the second thing I want to talk about kind of involves the fact that this is the first progress I've made on my Gigi Cardi since the last time you saw it. And that is because, I don't know if you've noticed, but the holidays are coming up. And I am working on some secret things related to holidays. And I don't want to work on them on video because they're secret. And I kind of want to talk about knitting gifts and making gifts in general. Because once people find out that you can make things, they all want you to make things for them for free. And not just, fibergraphs, physical objects that you've made. They will do this if you draw. For instance, I had some friends in school who drew, and I was guilty of this too. Everybody wanted them to draw things for them just for free, like, oh, can you draw me? Can you draw this? Can you draw that? And I kind of somewhat have a bit of a rule for myself where if you ask me to make something for you and you don't offer to pay me, or you balk at the idea of paying me, I'm not going to make you a gift either. You don't get the benefit from my labor if you don't value it enough, in my opinion. But if you understand that my work has value, I am much more likely to want to make you something. And this kind of comes into the concept of gift-worthiness or knit-worthiness, where, oh, this person's knit-worthy, that person's not knit-worthy, where someone isn't worthy of having something knit for them. And yeah, if they're not going to appreciate it, they're not knit-worthy. If they're not going to use it, in my opinion, they're not knit-worthy. Everyone has a different definition of who is knit-worthy and who is not. But if I make you a sweater or some socks, and you say that whatever I've made you is too pretty to wear or to use for the intended purpose, no, give it back. If you're not going to use it, give it back. You don't get to keep it. I think I've talked before about how my grandma is the exact opposite in some ways. She made a really complicated pair of argyle socks as a gift, gave them to the recipient, and was then completely scandalized when the recipient wore the socks that she had made and given to them. If I make you socks, you had better wear them until they disintegrate. That's what I made them for. If I wear you a sweater, you had better wear it until it falls to shreds. And I impose those rules on myself too. If I'm not going to wear something, I would rather give it to someone who will than keep it for myself and never wear it, never use it. But yeah, if someone's not going to make use of the things that I have made, I don't want them to have it. Because I made it to be used. I'm approaching the end of the row. Maybe I'll do a little mirror knitting. Just to demonstrate. I don't know how this is going to go on camera, but yeah, I think I'll give you a small demonstration. See if I can at least get to the end of the ribbing with mirror knitting in a reasonable time frame. So, come on. There you go. Alright. So, switch the yarn. My other hand. And this part I had trouble with when I was figuring it out, was the pearl. For whatever reason, in my brain, did not remember to bring the yarn to the other side of my needle for the pearl, and it was getting all tangled and weird, and I didn't understand why. Luckily I figured all this out on a little sample that I then ripped out. But when I figured out, oh yeah, you need to move the yarn to the other side of the needle when you purl. It was like relearning how to knit from scratch. I was that bad at it at first, but luckily I had that foundation of like, yes, I actually do know how to knit in the correct direction. For me, I know there are people who knit in this direction naturally, but for me, I learned the other way first. And so this is going in this direction is kind of like learning to write with your non-dominant hand. It is difficult and clumsy, but with enough persistence, you can do it. Yeah, you can see I am much slower going in this direction, much less fluid, much less natural. But it works. Come on, just a few more stitches. Knitting and ribbing is even less natural than just stockinette. No. I am very sorry about that noise. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. I dropped a stitch. Luckily, I have a crochet hook nearby. If I can find it. I can't find it. Okay. Well, we'll just do it the clumsy way then. Here we go. I think that's a little twisted. Yeah. Okay, there we go. And if I didn't fix that right, oh well. There'll just be a random twisted stitch in there. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.